he is a consummate actor, director. He has done so much in his career, and he has not stopped. And he is with us here at Fandemic Tour, and I'm so excited and proud to introduce the one, the only Kevin Sorbo. Yay!
I was just at a con the other day, and I had about 800 people in the room. So this is going to be very, very just us.
Yes, it's more intimate this way.
Just right.
Yeah, and welcome back to Texas.
Out.
I like that.
It's good to be back to Texas.
Yeah.
I tried to move here. I left California. We're living in Florida now. I tried to talk my wife into Dallas because I've shot a lot of movies in Dallas. I've got a lot of connections there. But happy wife, happy life.
Oh, bingo. That's all you have to say.
We're in Tampa right now. I don't know where we're going to end up, but we're there right now. So it's a change. The best change is I got a 13.5% raise because there's no state tax like you have in this state.
We love it. Trust me.
California wants to raise its state tax to 15%, and the new governor wants to tax texting.
Excuse me?
Isn't that weird?
That's bizarre.
If you have a California, any area code, they've estimated they can make $2 million a day at a penny a text.
You've got to be kidding me.
It's insane.
That's just reason enough to leave.
When I meet politicians, I go, you know, when you take stupid laws out of the books, that's doing something too. They feel they have to add all the time. How else can we take people's money? It's weird. It's a weird thing going on. But and it's showing in the city. You got New York, Chicago, and LA, I just read, are losing 200 people a day. You know where they're moving? Texas. And Florida.
Yep, pretty much.
Two fastest growing states. You guys are averaging 1,000 people a day in this state. 1,000 a day.
Well, we've got the space for it.
Isn't that amazing, though?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway.
So talk to us. What's going on with you?
Staying busy. I have a movie coming out Thursday, guys. You want to see it? It's called The Reliant. Go to thereliantmovie.com. It's a Fathom event. It's a one-day event. A lot of these independent movies, you know, they don't have the money. People don't realize when you see a $300 million Ends Game movie, Avengers, they have $100 million to promote that movie on top of it. They have to make roughly $700 million to break even on those type of movies, okay? But they make $2 billion worldwide. So they're willing to spend $700 million to make $1.3 billion, right? It's a business. But when you do independent movies like I do, a lot of these $2 to $3 million movies, that's nothing. That's like catering on one of those Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And it's hard for us to get in the theaters because the big boys taking up all the space. But this is a one-day event, and these Fathom events, at least get it out there. It's going to be 750 screens across the country.
Congratulations, that's great.
And it's good. And I produce it, but I star in it as well. And it's about the economic collapse of America. It's a drama, and it's got Brian Bosworth in it. People remember him from his football days. Yeah. And he did great in it. He was great to work with. And Eric Roberts is in it as well, and we'll see what happens.
Your movie sounds very timely.
Yeah. Kind of interesting, right?
Very
What's going on? And then I've got Bernie the Dolphin 2, which will be in theaters at Christmas. That's a G-rated movie, great movie for kids. And then I've got my most recent one I directed called Miracle in East Texas.
Tell us about that, because I haven't seen anything on it.
Well, we're hitting the film festival. We actually won, in Houston, we won Best Romantic Comedy with the movie.
Congratulations. When was that?
In Orlando. It was like in the spring.
Oh, okay. Congrats.
Yeah, Houston has I can't remember exactly. We've done,
film festival, yeah.
And then in Orlando, it won Best Family Movie. In Franklin, Tennessee, it won Best Faith-Based Film. In Vegas, it won Judge's Favorite. In Toronto, it won Best Film. So it's interesting they can't pigeonhole this movie because if you guys ever see Blind Side movie?
Oh yeah.
It's in that vein. It's in that vein.
That's good.
Where some people, because they were a Christian family, oh, it's a faith-based movie. Other people are sports. No, it's a sports movie. So I like it that it's going to kind of reach across all sort of areas. And it's a true story about two con men played by myself and John Ratzenberger. If you know John from Cliff from Cheers, the postman, and he's the voice in every Pixar movie as well.
This is true.
And these two con men would go through Oklahoma and Texas wooing widows out of their money on fake oil wells. Wow. And they would sell 500% of the shares. Of course, you can only have 100% of anything. So they would declare a dry hole and then move on. Well, in East Texas, when they got to that part of the country, they struck oil. They ended up going to jail. But it's the largest oil find in the history of the world. Lou Gossett Jr. is in this movie as well. Tyler Maine's in it. Some of you may know him as Sabretooth on X-Men, or you know him as a wrestler. He's a big wrestler. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. It's going to be in theaters next spring, and it's actually showing right now. My wife's also in the movie. She produced it. She's in Virginia right now at another film festival with it. So I'm here and she's there. But it's a wonderful movie, and it's a true story. We shot it in Calgary. And people say, why didn't you shoot it in Texas?
I was about to ask that question.
Because it's called show business, not show. And in Canada, you get a 35% tax credit, plus you get 25% more on the dollar, because the U.S. dollar is stronger up there. But we shot in a location that, if you look east, you're looking at downtown Calgary in the mountains, so it's not Texas. If you look west, trust me, it's Texas. And they're a big oil place as well. And that same location, they shot Revenant, with Leonardo DiCaprio's movie. They shot Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's movie. They shot Lonesome Dove.
Wow.
They shot Open Range. We used the same 3,000-acre ranch. It was really cool one day on the set as we were filming, all of a sudden a female moose came trotting through about 100 meters behind us. And I said, now that's not Texas. No. That ain't Texas. But it was cool. It was, I directed as well, and it was written by Dan Gordon. Dan Gordon's an Academy Award nominated writer. He was up for an Oscar for his screenplay for Denzel Washington's movie, The Hurricane, that Denzel won the Academy Award,
Wonderful
I believe,
movie.
for.
Yeah.
And then he also wrote Space Cowboys.
Loved that movie.
And he wrote Passenger 57, Wesley Snipes, and he wrote Wide Earp, one of my favorite movies with Kevin Costner. And then he wrote, he was the showrunner on Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon. He wrote 60 of the episodes. He's an established writer, he's an amazing writer.
Oh my gosh.
And he wrote this movie, Miracle in East Texas, for Robert Redford and Paul Newman 30 years ago. Redford didn't want to do it. Newman did, but he sat around, and Dan and I are friends, and he gave me the script, and I said, I'm going to do this. So we found the money to do it. Hope you enjoy it. It'll be out next spring.
That's
but it's a good movie. And I got 2 other movies coming out on top of that, and 3 documentaries, and I start a movie next month in Atlanta called Ghetto Tears. It's a true story. I play a white pastor in an all-black neighborhood, and it deals with sex trafficking, which is definitely a problem right now. And in Atlanta, it's really a big problem. So it's going to be a pretty heavy drama. We start filming that soon.
I know a lot of us here in Houston are probably very happy that you're doing something like that, because it's also a problem here.
Oh my gosh,
as
yeah.
well, unfortunately.
People don't realize how bad it is, and it happens a lot with runaways. And they get sucked into this thing, and they feel trapped, and they do get trapped.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you feel? I mean, you're doing all these amazing passion projects, which, I mean, it's like an actor's dream to be able to direct and produce all of this. Why go this route?
You know, I'm not against the movies that come out of Hollywood. I just think there's a lot of hate and anger out there, and I'm trying to do movies that have more of a positive message, because there's so much of it out there. And I had a movie that was in theaters last year called Let There Be Light. If you get a chance, watch it in streaming. I got a couple DVDs down on my table as well. And I got a call from Netflix after it came out, and Netflix said, we want to talk to you. And we want to open an inspirational division in Netflix, because Netflix and Amazon have all the money and power right now, and they put out a lot of stuff that really, do you want your 9-year-old saying this stuff? You know, there's a lot of negative messages going out there right now, and I'm just trying to do stuff that is a little more, like I said, just more a little redemption and hope, and try to go, you know, we can make life better, guys. We don't have to, you know, we live in a world right now where people just want to be angry all the time and find a reason to be angry and hateful, and it's just kind of sad.
And if you can change that even a little bit, it makes
just a little bit. And I've had people come up to me. You know, I used to get stopped all the time I travel a lot, airports and malls and restaurants, whatever. It used to be Hercules and Andromeda all the time. 80% of the time now, say, hey, please do more movies like Let There Be Light, Soul Surfer, God's Not Dead, and that's the movies that people want to see. So then you got to support them, otherwise
you ain't getting paid.
Hollywood will keep making what they're making, you know. And I'm not a prude in any way. I mean, I like those movies too, but I think there's 80 million households out there that want stuff that their kids can see as well.
That's nice. And I think it's probably even more than that. Those are just the ones that are speaking out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, you mentioned 80% are going that direction, but there's that 20% who still talks about the Hercules. Andromeda.
No, I mean, Hercules.
Tell me about that.
It's still in 60 countries, which is amazing.
Golly.
You know, and we by our 3rd year, we passed Baywatch as the most watched show in the world, if you're not aware of that, in 176 countries. It was crazy. which was really pretty cool. And then we spun up Xena in our season 3. We spun up Young Hercules. A lot of people forget about Young Hercules. That was a 20-year-old Ryan Gosling.
Yes. Oh, we remember.
and when I got canned after 2 years, Ryan called me up and goes, Kevin, they canceled me. So I took him out to dinner. We lived in New Zealand 7 years. That was home for me. And I took him out and I said, Ryan, you're 21. You're a good actor. You'll do fine. Now I'm like going, dude, put me in one of your movies. Start on my show, So
he owes you.
He owes me. But yeah, it was interesting how I got that role. It's typical of anything in Hollywood. They send out a casting report, all the agents get it, and they okay, these 8 clients I have are right for this role, and then they call you and you go read. So when they originally told me about Hercules, I went, that was big. I mean, I'm the lightest I've been since I was a 19-year-old right now. I've been a whole different sort of no sugar thing going on, which is driving me crazy, but I feel better. But I was 225, 230 when I played Hercules. And so when they called me up, I said, I'm a big guy, but I'm not a big guy. They said, no, they're looking for like a decathlon-sized guy. They want an NFL quarterback-sized guy. They don't want a 300-pound no-neck, Not to say that, Arnold or Lou Ferrigno ever took steroids, but anyway, Lou's a good friend. I love Lou. I can tell you, when I moved, I'm from a little town of Minnesota, west suburbs of Minneapolis. When I moved to LA, I didn't know a soul. I just went out there, packed up my old car, and just drove out there and said, here I am. And I ended up getting a place in Santa Monica, right in the Venice border. So Gold's Gym was a mile from me. So that was my home, away from home. I was in there all the time. And Lou, back in those days, when he wanted the machine that you were on, say if I was sitting on a bench press and I just sat up after doing the bench press, Lou would just come up and go like this.
Just stare at you?
I go, so Lou, you want to use this? Okay. He's gonna walk away because it was Lou Ferrigno. But anyway, where was I? Oh, so I went in red for the role. Because it was initially supposed to be just 5 2-hour movies. And I liked the script, and so I went and read Universal Studios, and I left, and then 2 weeks later they called me and said, we want to see you again. So I went back again, read again. 2 weeks later they called me again, read again. I ended up reading 7 times for the role. And the very last time, they auditioned 2,800 actors in North America. Between Montreal, Toronto, New York, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, 2,800 actors read for that role. Oh
my gosh.
So it got down to the last 3 guys. So I get there, and at the Universal, has anybody ever been to the Universal in Studio City? Mm-hmm. You've been there? Yeah. On the 101 freeway, which is always like ridiculous. It's a parking lot. It's like traffic here. And so there's a really tall black building right on the 101 freeway that leads into, if you're going up to the park. And we call that the building where actors go to die, because it's everything's about rejection. So I get there, and I'm standing up on a stage like this, and we had Sam Raimi in front of me, who was our executive producer. You all know Sam from Spider-Man and all the other movies he's done. And him and Bruce Campbell and Rob Tappert on that whole Evil Dead thing. And it's room much smaller than this, but it still has like theater seating. So it goes up, and there was 50 people in the room. It was all the studio, females and males, all the top powerful people, and the television department. And so I said, you guys, what do you want me to do? You never give me a new direction. It's always the same. It's never, no new sides, nothing. I'm just doing the same scene. And Sam goes, it's fine. We really like you. That's why you're here. Just give us one more reading. So I read it, and then Sam hits the woman next to him, and she goes, I'm supposed to ask you to take your shirt off.
Oh, what was she?
So if you remember, I was in really good shape back then. So I took my shirt off, and then there was a combination of men and women going, oh. And so then I said, the smart ass at him, I said, yeah, I'm a lot bigger with my clothes off.
You did.
So I did. And so I put my shirt back on, and Sam says, okay, if you book this role, would you be willing to shave your chest and your stomach for the role? And I went, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you wanted a man for this role. And I started to walk off.
That's good.
I started to walk off the stage. And then they all laughed, and they said, "Yeah, we'll let you know in the next couple days, and thank you." Because I had to leave the next day. I had to fly up to Vancouver to shoot an episode of The Commish. If you remember that show with Michael Chiklis. So I shot it, and halfway through the filming, I get a call from my managers. They left a message. "You need to call your manager right away. Call up Beverly." I said, "Beverly, what's going on?" She goes, "You got the role. You're going to be Hercules. You got the role." So I walked back on the set, and I looked at Michael, and I said, "I don't want any crap from you. I'm half God now." So, and then the five movies was amazing to work on. New Zealand's fantastic. Make that on the bucket list to go visit. And I got to work with Anthony Quinn.
Oh,
Anthony
wow.
Quinn played Zeus. If you don't know Anthony Quinn, shame on you. One of the golden age of Hollywood. He was 78 years old at the time when he worked on it. And I said, "Why did you want to do TV movies?" And he said, "Kevin, I'm 78. I've always wanted to play Zeus. When will I have an opportunity to do this again?"
True.
And I learned so much from him, from not only acting, but just everything. He became very dear friends until he passed away 8.5 years later. But I knew by the third movie that they were going to make it a series before they told us, because I knew we had something magical here. And it was amazing to be part of that. It was amazing to watch the growth of that series and watch it take off and become as successful as it was. And Peter Jackson used to come on the set a lot, because all during the 90s when we were filming, he was writing the 3-show arc of Lord of the Rings. And he wanted to make sure he took a lot of the cast, a lot of the crew that was learning, really, because they didn't have an infrastructure down there until we really brought it to them.
Wait, you created the infrastructure that ended up being with...
they had, most of their crew were rookies in their jobs.
That's okay.
We had maybe like a really good camera operator, maybe, but like even all the extras, first time ever doing it. Of course, by the end of 7 years, they were all pros. They were all very good, because they were, we shot 10, 11-day episodes. But we were the training ground for that industry in New Zealand. And so Peter Jackson invites me to, when the third Lord of the Rings was up for all the Academy Awards, and that's when they won most of them.
Return of the
He
King.
invited me to the Academy Awards and the after party and stuff, and he comes up to me to tell me, if it wasn't for your show, we wouldn't have the infrastructure we had. And I said, "Peter, that's nice, but you didn't book me in one damn movie. You could have given me a role. There's like more than one role in Lord of the Rings, Glad to help you out, pal, but it's just so funny.
Not even a finder's fee?
Not even nothing.
Oh, man.
Not even nothing. But I don't know. But it was amazing to work on that. We had so many good memories. I miss the series. I miss my buddy. I talk with Michael Hurst. We keep in touch quite a bit.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's tough. I mean, his life goes on. My life goes on. I'm married kids. He's married kids. And you just get busy with stuff. He's still doing theater. That was Michael's love. He's the premier Shakespearean actor of New Zealand, and that's his place is to be on stage. That's what he loves the most.
You can always FaceTime,
That's right. We do. No, we catch up. We catch up, which is great. But then that led into Andromeda, of course, and then that was like. For me, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so for me to get a call from Majel Roddenberry and say, "Gene wrote this show back in 1969 when Star Trek got canceled, and I think he would have loved you as the first captain after Captain Kirk, Captain Dylan Hunt." So I said, "Baby, where do I sign?" So
What was that experience like for you?
loved it. Those 5 years in Vancouver, great. We had a great crew. The crew was very well seasoned, because they did all 21 Jump Street, and then from there they did X-Files, and then they came on my show. So we had a great crew, and it was a much better working schedule for me. Hercules was 18 hours door to door.
Golly.
So Andromeda was 12 hours door to door, because we had 6 hours. Well, we had. That's right.
You have to keep your shirt on.
Took it off a couple times, but
That's true. I remember.
It's so funny. I think the first Comic-Con I did for Andromeda during the first year we were filming and it was on the air was in Tulsa. And the Q&A was packed. It was like 2,000 people. It was unbelievable in there, because Hercules was still running, so it was a hot show. And one of the women gets up and she says, "In the first year of Hercules, you've only kissed 5 women, and Captain Kirk got to kiss 12 in his first season." And I said, "I'm talking to the writers about this right now. What is going on here?"
Oh, that's just hilarious, though. I mean, but just all the experiences with this, and of course, dealing with what you also had to deal with your health in the middle of all of this too. I mean, you inspired a lot of people, especially through your journey. I mean, you probably can look back and see that as well. But did you realize not only those 2 shows, but also the things you were going through were going to probably change other people's lives?
Well, you know, if those of you don't know, my book is down there. It's called True Strength, My Journey from Hercules to Mere Mortal and How Nearly Dying Saved My Life. At the end of season 5 on Hercules, I was having all kinds of problems with my left shoulder, and I couldn't figure what was going on. And my whole arm was numb, and these fingers were cold and numb. But I was doing most of my own stunts because, well, my ego said that I could. So, and to jock at me, I loved doing it. It was fun. My stunt guys were awesome, and Peter Bell, our stunt choreographer, was so great. He came up with so many great, funny fight scenes, you know. But I couldn't figure out what was going on with it, and I was coming back to do publicity on Kull the Conqueror, which is my first big budget movie for Universal Studios. And I was in New York. I was doing Letterman and all these other talk shows, and I went up to Boston to do some shows up there. And they finally sent a doctor to my hotel room to find out what was going on with my arm because it was just on fire. It was killing me. And this doctor comes to my room. His name was Dr. Dye.
Are you kidding me?
D-Y-E, I get it, but still, dude, change your name. You know, you're a bloody doctor, you know. But he hit it on the nose. He said, I think it's cardiovascular, you better get checked out. So I saw my doctor in LA, and he found a lump way up here in my shoulder, and he thought I had cancer. He thought it was Hodgkin's. And then I went to see my chiropractor. And while I'm laying on the table, a voice inside my head said, don't let him crack your neck. And here's the weird thing, in 8 years he's never cracked my neck, so I don't know why this voice is saying, don't let him crack your neck. And I kept repeating itself, so while I'm arguing with the voice in my head, he cracks my neck. And it went really hard this way. And I sat up, I said, why do you do that? And he said, well, I felt you needed it. He said, you know, I don't like that. And then boom, I suffered 3 strokes. Because the numbness and stuff, there was an aneurysm that was up here that was spitting out blood clots slowly into my arm over months, but that crack opened it up and sent 3 clots into my brain and sent thousands of clots in my arm. They rushed me to the hospital. There was talk at one time of possibly amputating my arm because all the blood flow had been cut off. It had been turning like ice blue. And it took 4 months to learn how to walk again. And it was tough. You watch season 6 and season 7 of Hercules, you see a weight loss, but you also see a lot more stunt casting. I went from 18 hours door to door to about 3 hours door to door, just to keep the show going, of course. But it was a tough road. And I wrote a book. It's called True Strength. There's a few left at the table as well. And I didn't want to write it. My wife bugged me to write it. She said it's going to change a lot of people's lives, and it has. And I've been doing a lot of speaking events every year since then, and it opened up this door that I never thought I'd be going through, and that's public speaking, and it's been amazing. And we talked earlier today, this young gentleman over here, where I've had people come up that were car crash survivors, stroke survivors, cancer, whatever it may be, and they said the book has made them stop feeling sorry for themselves. Because it's a fun book. It's got a lot of humor in it. It's got a lot of little stories in it as well. And but it's a motivational book. Because everybody, my dad used to say, if life is perfect, just wait a while. Because all of us are going to hit a roadblock, and some of you in this room have already hit roadblocks, and we're going to hit more roadblocks. And how do you react to that roadblock? Do you blame God, family, friends, your wife, your spouse, whatever? You know, I always look at Michael Jackson's song, The Man in the Mirror. You got to look in the mirror. And you got to go, what am I going to do about it? Because every time I got down, my wife said, it happened. What are you going to do? And it was, am I going to sit here and just whine about it, or am I going to try to make myself a better person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're a very spiritual person as well, and I know that's probably carried you through this entire journey of your life.
Well, it's funny. I had faith my whole life, but I never needed faith until that happened.
Right. And how do you think that also helped you with all of this as well?
Oh, I think it helped me a lot. I mean, I wrestled with God certainly, but don't wrestle with God because you'll lose. But it was frustrating. It was demanding for me to go what I went through. My wife was a big part of this as well. In fact, we weren't married yet. We got married 4 months after that when I could finally stand up a little bit and sort of walk down the aisle. But, she got the worst part before we even said for better or worse, So it was amazing. She stuck by my side because I told her, I said, look, I don't know where I'm going to end up. I don't want to do this to you. But, without her constant nagging, I don't know where I'd be right now, So that's what it comes down to.
That's real love. And you know where he met his wife, don't you, on the show?
On the set of
Hercules.
Yeah.
You guys know that, right?
She came down, an episode, it was called Prince Hercules, and she played a princess, and then she came down to the 3-show arc where she played the golden hind, the half deer, and the blood of the hind was the one that could kill a god, so gods feared that creature. So anyway, we got questions out there?
Yeah,
Somebody got any questions?
I was about to get that because we have time. I like to ask questions. Just please go ahead into questions. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
No,
Just
go
yell
ahead.
it out. We'll
Just
repeat it.
Please.
My name's Natalie,
Nice to meet you.
So I recently got myself a movie pass, so I can see unlimited movies. And what I want to do is, I have a blog, and I want to make it about movie reviews. So what would be your advice as to making a profit out of it?
Well, everything's social media, right? I mean, I think it's getting a presence on Facebook and Twitter and getting it out there and get podcasting. I think the more they see you talking, the more they see you talking about what you're doing. I mean, my son Braden, who just turned 18, he started doing jokes. He tells a joke a day. He's up to 600,000 followers. I'm going, impressive. What? And it's grown. It's unbelievable. He just tells these jokes, one joke a day. And that's what he's doing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And he's good at it. I mean, he comes down and tests them out on me all the time, you know.
The movie comes out in Fathom Events?
Fathom Event. Our Fathom Events are becoming very popular with independent movies. At least it gets them out in theaters, because whenever a movie can get out in the theaters, it gives a little bit more cachet with Netflix and Amazon, HBO, blah, blah, blah. So I know that it's called the ReliantMovie.com. And it's this Thursday coming up, the 24th. In fact, I leave Sunday here to New York, and I'm doing a bunch of publicity Monday and Tuesday in New York on the movie. I've already been doing some already, but we're hitting it pretty big Monday and Tuesday. Because people are short, you know, we operate in short-term memories nowadays.
That's so true. It's so true. Now, you can find all this also on your website as well.
Yeah, KevinSorbo.net. They're going to KevinSorbo.net, and it's got all kinds of stuff on there. So
fantastic. Any other questions? Right here.
Yes, I have been a huge Hercules and Andromeda fan and young Hercules.
Oh, thank you.
For years. And I wanted to ask you, though, how was it working with Kevin Smith and Lucy Wallace whenever you got the chance to work with them? 'Cause
Well, Kevin, I wanted, we did, when we first did Ares, they made it this really, because Universal said, we got to make a bunch of toys, blah, blah. So they wanted this guy on stilts, and I said, this isn't going to, they did one episode that way, and I said, we've already used Kevin in a couple other episodes as other characters. I said, make him Ares. He'd be an awesome Ares in a peanut. Lucy did at least 4 or 5 different characters in the first couple of years of Hercules. She was the benefactor of being in the right place at the right time. Vanessa Angel got the role of Xena, if you know who that is, a British actor. She was in the series Weird Science, all that stuff. She came down with mono. So they panicked. And so they all got together, and they had always liked Lucy's character. And because we had to start filming, because it was at the end of season 2, we did a 3-show arc introducing the character. And we had no other script, so they had no other choice. And quite frankly, not to take anything away from Vanessa, but it worked out, I think, for the better. It did. It's funny how things work out that way. I mean, initially the series is going to be shot in South Africa, and then it was going to be shot in Australia. New Zealand was a last-second thing. And can you imagine if we shot at any of those other countries, Lucy would have not, who knows where she'd be right now.
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing how things work out in terms of being in the right place at the right time.
That's true.
And so we always had fun on the set, though. I mean, always had fun on the set. She was a good sport. Kevin and I just, rest in peace. I don't know if you guys know, Kevin passed away years ago on a set in Shanghai, China. He fell off 3 stories off a scaffolding. And he was my golf buddy, and he was my, I can't say drinking buddy because I'm a lightweight, but man, that guy could drink. That guy. And it's sad that he's gone. I mean, the last time I saw him, as I went down there and did a guest spot on Xena during her last season, and Kevin and I got together and golfed a lot while I was down there, and we went out and had a great meal on the pier overlooking the ocean with another one of our buddies, and then he started a thing down there called Theater Sports. It's an improv club. So it's Whose Line Is It Anyway, New Zealand style. And so I went and saw that, and it's just very funny. And it's just sad. I mean, he left 3 boys behind, 10 years and younger, and now his 10-year-old is 27 now, 28, and about 6'5".
Wow.
Just a big beast of a dude, And but every time I go to New Zealand, I go to his gravesite with our favorite New Zealand beer, Max Gold. If you like beer, order Max Gold online. It's a great New Zealand beer, and I put one on his gravesite, and I sit down and drink it and have a chat.
That's nice.
He was a great guy. It was ridiculous. I had so much fun. And our fight scenes together were hilarious. If you ever get a chance to see the outtakes between Kevin and my fight scenes, it was pretty funny.
That's nice.
It was great. And Robert Trevor Salmonius was just a hoot, you know, and Michael's character, when he did the Widow Twanky, that was based on his mother. And we saw him do it on a stage, in a play.
Really?
And he wore the fake boobs and the blue hair and everything. And he said, we got to put this in the show somehow, the Widow Twanky. And he did an episode that Michael directed as well as the Widow Twanky, and it was called Fancy Free. It was a ballroom dancing episode. And the final scene is me dancing with this teenage girl and using her legs to throw around and kick out the bad guys and fight the bad guys. It was pretty funny. And there's a scene in there. It was the first time that I ever got to wear something different. I always had the same. Those leather pants weighed 12 pounds, by the way. It's 3 layers of leather, 12 pounds. Designed by Nyla Dixon, that went on to win the Academy Award for Best Costume Designer in Lord of the Rings. And so we ad-libbed a lot in the show. So Michael and I worked out in the scene where he says, as the Widow Twanky, you got to get out of those clothes. And I said, well, this is all I ever wear. And he goes, I know, and I'm sick of it. So, and we kept that in.
That's perfect.
We did that a lot. There was one scene where we did in the outtakes where we're sitting at a tavern and Eolus is there and I'm here and we're talking about the problems. And I whispered to the camera guys, when we finish the last line, just tilt the cameras down. So we're talking and talking. It's a serious talk. And then when the dialogue ends and slowly they tilt it down and they catch Michael and I play footsies with each other.
No way.
So I said, Hercules, the untold story. So
That's
it was
great.
pretty funny.
Any other questions? Right
Yes,
here,
sir.
sir.
What's it like playing Hercules as the good guy versus the bad guy?
I love The Sovereign. The Sovereign, I wish we did The Sovereign more. I think we only did it in 2 or 3 episodes. And that got to wear something different, too, for a change. But, you know, it's all in the writing, too. We had great writers. You know, they always put in... The mythology was always there, but it was also, I always call it, Malibu Hercules. And, but it's amazing the letters I got from around the world that teachers saying kids want to learn about mythology now because of your show, you know, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I got letters from so many kids saying, you're my hero. You know, we're getting over 2,000 letters a week at its peak down there. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And back in the 90s, the Comic-Cons weren't nearly as big as they are today. Mm-hmm. And I would come back and do maybe one a year. But, you know, I got those walking deadlines back then because, you know, you got a current show like that. I mean, I'd be signing, you know, 800 autographs a day. It was insane. But, you know, they weren't around that much. They really exploded in the 2000s and beyond. Now they're like, every city's got one, it seems.
Pretty much.
Yes, sir, you had a question.
Yeah, Disney making the live action Hercules coming up with some production right now. And I was thinking that, didn't they call you for like a cameo appearance?
Disney's doing one?
Yeah.
They're doing another one? Wow, because they did one with Dwayne Johnson recently. I know Dwayne. We used to work at the same gym. He's a good guy. And I said, you know, you should have put me in your movie as a cameo. Well, they called the director, who's a jerk, and he said no. You know, they did it with Lou Ferrigno in The Hulk. He played a security guard in the Hulk movie. Fans would have loved that. It's not like, dude, it's a 2-minute scene. It's for the audience to get a kick out of it. So they didn't do it, and then I saw somebody send something to me on Facebook that somebody posted, who is your favorite Hercules? Left everybody from Steve Reeves, who I love, the Hercules Unchained. You got to see the movie from the 50s. That guy was a stud. He sent me a letter back in 1996 before he passed away, saying, I love your portrayal of Hercules. And to me, that was like awesome. And then they had Ferrigno, they had Dwayne, they had Arnold Schwarzenegger. They listed all these different people at Hercules, and I had 88% of the vote for the favorite Hercules. So I said, take that!
Hello.
You know, you jerk, not put me in your movie for 2 minutes for crying out loud. But I know they're doing another one. But Disney, mine was Universal Studios, so Disney's a whole different thing. Because during that time, Disney did a Hercules animated one, so they got that. Mm-hmm. Yes. I met her one time really quick. I saw her on Broadway a couple years ago. She was doing Cat in a Hot Tin Roof. If you've never seen that, rent that movie. It's one of the best movies you'll ever see. Is she? I only met her once. It was really quick. I mean, we don't get to meet everybody all the time, you know, but I mean, I can't remember what the event was. It was like 6, 7 years ago. But I did see her on Broadway. do Cat on Tin Roof, which is amazing. I'm a big Paul Newman fan, so he's in that movie. That was the reason why I wanted to be an actor, was Paul Newman. So anyway, who else? Yes?
Sorry, just you were mentioning like filming up in Calgary and stuff like that. And I actually did go there for like a work trip before, and I thought it was an interesting thing was that you get on the plane here in Houston, get off the plane in Calgary. It was like the Canadian version of Houston.
It is.
You're walking through, and it's like, you know, everybody's wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah.
They've got like, you know, Stampede murals.
In oil. There's oil rigs everywhere. Did you go see the Stampede?
I didn't.
It's awesome. So I think it's the biggest rodeo in the world. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just, it was funny. So like, hopefully,
Yeah.
when we were talking about filming the movie, they were filming this movie from Texas to Calgary, and I'm like, I can totally see that.
Yeah. It's a 3,000-acre ranch up there. This guy that runs it, John Scott, he's this 80-year-old cowboy. You know, it's a working ranch, and it's got oil rigs on it too, and he's got all the cattle and stuff, and it's just, yeah, you would think if you put somebody there and they didn't realize, you blindfold them and say, okay, in this area, because it reminded me of a lot of Texas. Right time of year. Well, yeah, because we shot in July and August, so we were pretty good. But I mean, I remember one time the storm blew in so quick while we were filming Miracle in East Texas, and it had golf ball size hail. Oh. And the winds were blowing like 70. I mean, the tent started blowing over and stuff. Oh, it was unbelievable how quick this storm came in. And it kicks off the Rocky Mountains and it just nails you. But it was, the people were great. I mean, it was just, I loved it up there. We stayed at a bed and breakfast place and right along a river. I mean, it was great.
That's nice.
It was fun.
We have about 5 more minutes, so we have any more questions we want to get to? Anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
Susan, out of all of your work that you've done, what do you like the most?
Well, if it wasn't for Hercules, I wouldn't have gotten everything else. Everything fed off of Hercules. I loved it. But there are movies that I've done that I'm really proud of, like Let There Be Light. I love that movie. What If? I highly recommend What If. I think it's one of my favorite movies. You know, it's a mixture of stuff. I got to tell you a quick story because you got the Superman garb on there. So when Lois and Clark, I got down the last 2 guys. For Dean Cain and I got down for the role of Superman. So we both did a screen test with Terry Hatcher. And as I'm driving home, I get a call from my manager, and she said I got the role. So we went and celebrate. The next morning, 12 hours later, they said, no, we're going to go with Dean Cain now.
Ooh.
So the highs and lows of the industry, okay? It's okay, though, because 3 months later, I did get Hercules.
Yeah.
And as I tell Dean, your show went 3 years and got canceled. Mine went 7 and became the most watched show in the world.
And there you go.
Dean's a good buddy of mine. Actually, we're putting together right now, Dean and I are going to shoot a movie next year together called Carpool Lane.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really cool, I don't know if you know the movie Being There with Peter Sellers, but if you haven't seen that one, it's another really good movie to see. And it's kind of got a touch of that. It's interesting. I play a homeless guy on the street, begging for money on the street corner, entering a ramp, and Dean throws $100 at me because he's a high-power lawyer, and we're in LA, and he wants me just to get in the car so he can use the carpool lane. And it deals with the conversations that we have with each other. That as it goes on, you realize this guy ain't your typical homeless guy. And you don't find out until the very end what it's all about, but it's a pretty cool script.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it's a cool script. He just said, get $100, get in the car.
All right, time for one more question. Back there. She hasn't had a chance to ask a question. Yeah.
So you went from Hercules, which was set mostly outside,
Yep.
very, very plain kind of setting, to Andromeda, which is more science fiction out in space. Was it a hard transition to kind of go from being like outdoorsy and kind of being more physical?
Well, the hardest transition was cutting off 8 inches of hair. I got used to that long hair, you know. But my wife says I went from Herc to Kirk. So what I liked about it, I'm a big Gene Roddenberry fan to begin with. So I never got to meet him because he passed away in 1992. So I never got to meet him. But I love the fact that it became an easier show to shoot because we were inside most of the time. I would say 90% of it were inside. Stargate was just down the road from us, their studios. But I used to say to Michael Shanks and those guys, how many planets you go to are going to look like Vancouver, British Columbia? It was like every planet was mountains with these beautiful trees, you know? So I like the fact that we used more green screen, but we had a much better schedule. We shot 7 days instead of 10 to 11 days that we did in Hercules, and it was contained. We had 2 studios. Each studio was about double the size of this area we're in now, so we had the Andromeda ship in one, we had the Eureka Maru and other sets built into the other one. And so it was just an easier thing to do, and we also had the visual effects guys in-house as well. Wardrobe was, everything was right there, which was really pretty cool. Casting was done there, because I was exec producer on that series, so I had final say in casting, I had final say in edit. I came in with a lot of power coming off of Hercules, because Universal Studios still wanted to do seasons 8, 9, and 10 with me on Hercules, but they weren't mad that I took Andromeda, because they own that as well, because they own the Sci-Fi Channel as well. So because we kept it in-house, it was okay. And I was kind of ready to move on and do something different anyway. I loved my 7 years in New Zealand, but it's so easy to get pigeonholed in one role, and I think both those roles were different enough, you know, from besides the 8,000 years in separation. And then, you know, then it just opened the door for me to do all these independent movies, which I've really enjoyed. And I got a series that I'm starting next year as well. And it's an independent series, but I'm in talks with Netflix about another series too. So we're staying busy. And there's a sort of a Spartacus thing that we're going to be doing a mini series on, doing about 6 episodes next year as well. So I got a busy next year.
Nice.
Busy next year.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Kevin Sorbo.
Thank
He's
you
going to
all.
be here all weekend. Make sure you go visit him downstairs.
This is Goku. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah!